If you follow this channel closely, then you're already aware of the unfortunate passing of Stan Lee. He died at the age of 95 on the 12th of November at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles. He was a writer, editor, publisher, undisputed champion of the cameo appearance, and the co-creator of tons of popular characters, including Spider-Man, Iron Man, the Hulk, Thor, Black Panther, Daredevil, Doctor Strange, Scarlet Witch, Ant-Man, the Fantastic Four, the X-Men, and more. His contributions to comics, movies, and entertainment as a whole cannot be understated. So let's take a moment to talk about the life of Stan Lee. Back in 1964, Stanley Martin Lieber was already pushing 40. He'd been working in the comics industry for 2 decades at the same place that had hired him as a teenager for $8 a week. He felt burnt out. He'd been forced to fire his artists and found himself alone within the comics division of magazine management company then known as Marvel Comics Group. As a young man, he wanted to become a novelist, but that dream had never materialized. At the time, the company was producing romance, western, and monster comics. Lieber didn't want his name attached to the content coming from MMC, not even the corny jokes he enjoyed writing for publications like Golfers Anonymous and Blushing Blurbs. He was saving his real name for more important things, and so he gave himself credit as Stan Lee. Later, however, he would come to understand the importance of his own work. In April of 2014, he told the Chicago Tribune, quote, "I used to think what I did was not very important. People are building bridges and engaging in medical research, and here I was doing stories about fictional people who do extraordinary, crazy things and wear costumes. But I suppose I've come to realize that entertainment is not easily dismissed." Lee was born in 1922 on December 28th in New York, New York. He began his career in comics in 1939. The first writing that he did was for Captain America Comics number 3 in 1941. This was filler text in a Golden Age Captain America story written by Joe Simon and Jack Kirby. Fast forwarding to 1961, Jack Kirby and Stan Lee both ushered in the age of Silver Comics with Fantastic Four number 1. They rejected the notion that superhero comics were childish and juvenile and redefined the industry by founding a team that struggled with recognizable, relatable human issues. Lee was also the creator of Spider-Man, who first appeared in Amazing Fantasy number 15 in 1962. Lee wanted to depict an adolescent who was the hero and not the sidekick. And to make a long story short, Stan Lee and artist Steve Ditko created Peter Parker, or Spider-Man, possibly Marvel's most recognized hero ever. So how did all of that come about? Well, let's go back to Stan, alone in the office at Magazine Management Company. So the story goes like this. Martin Goodman and Jack Leibowitz, the publisher of DC Comics, were having a golf game. Leibowitz was talking to Goldman about DC's new project. They had taken Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, and they had put them into a single superhero title. Now, those of you that watched our Did You Know comics on the Justice League know that this was not the first superhero team ever. However, superheroes had not been popular for a long time. The Silver Age was not yet underway, and all of the current comics at that time were in other genres, such as westerns or romance. And so Goodman returned to the office and asked Stan Lee to basically steal the idea, make Marvel a team of superheroes. But Lee had been in the comics industry for 2 decades, and he had seen previous attempts to revive the superheroes of the Golden Age. It had never worked before. He was skeptical, to say the least. And for more information about that, watch our Did You Know Comics video on the Fantastic Four. But to make a long story short, his wife talked him into giving it a shot. Basically, she encouraged him to take his ideas and work them into the comics, to do it the way that he wanted to do it. He didn't have to wait and work his big ideas into the great American novel. He could do it right there at Marvel Comics. Many years later, Lee was quoted as saying, "It took a few days of jotting down a million notes, crossing them out and jotting down a million more until I finally came up with 4 characters that I thought would work well together as a team. I wrote an outline containing the basic description of the new characters and the somewhat offbeat storyline, and gave it to my most trusted and dependable artist, the incredibly talented Jack Kirby. And of course, that team became the Fantastic Four in 1961, the birth of the Marvel Universe as we know it today, and the genesis of all of the Marvel heroes that we know and love to this day. Now, we could go on forever about the backstory of Lee at Marvel Comics, creating this character and that character. And believe me, sooner or later on this channel, we will go over all of them. But today's video is about honoring Stan Lee. What he was, what he stood for, and what he did for us. Maybe some people still think of comics as childish. Maybe some people are assholes. But Lee knew something that apparently some people don't know. They don't have to be. Comics are like any other medium. They are what you make of them. And Stan Lee started a trend that still continues to this day, where the heroes inside the comic, they have problems, they struggle with things, and they're relatable. Back in the Golden Age, before Marvel was a thing, and to some extent within DC Comics to this day, heroes are seen as archetypes that we should live up to. Superman never makes a mistake. Batman is always prepared. They exist as examples of how to live, but the Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, Thor, Tony Stark, these are people that have the same type of power, but they're just like you and I. Superman, at least in the beginning, for many decades, never sat down and thought about what he should do or what he could do with his powers. He never thought, am I making the right choice? Is it moral for me to do nothing? Is it moral for me to help everyone? You know, he never thought, what happens if I solve everyone's problems for them and now they can't take care of themselves? He never thought, what happens if I do the wrong thing and other people have to suffer the consequences of that decision? Because he was perfect. He always made the right decision every single time. But superheroes aren't like that anymore. And that's because of Stan Lee. In Marvel Comics, heroes make mistakes, and they suffer the consequences, and they live with their actions, and that makes them relatable. And that brings a seriousness to the medium, and that is why comics are no longer for children. Bill Maher looks back to the comics he grew up with in the 1950s, and he thinks, how could anybody respect such a childish thing, such a thing that is clearly not geared toward adults? But he doesn't understand what he's talking about. Putting away comics as an adult, the action that Bill Maher is so proud of, put him out of the comics industry before comics grew up, before they became the same sort of entertainment media that adults enjoy, before they dealt with serious issues. Comics are to be taken seriously to this day because of Stan Lee, because of the decisions he made, and because of the things that he did. So case in point, Lee had a monthly column called Stan's Soapbox. In 1968, the same year that Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. and Robert F. Kennedy were assassinated, he wrote, in part, "Bigotry and racism are among the deadliest social ills plaguing the world today. Sooner or later, if man is ever to be worthy of his destiny, we must fill our hearts with tolerance." That was said at a time when having that opinion was not the easy road to take. That column was printed at a time when the easy road to take was to just ignore these things. The civil rights movement was at a fever pitch and people were being shot in the streets, and the easy thing to do would have been to ignore it and move on. But Lee took a stand, so you know what? I'll just let the man speak for himself. Here is a video entitled "A Message from Stan Lee," published on the Marvel Entertainment YouTube channel on October 5th, 2017.
Hi, heroes. This is Stan Lee coming at you. Want you to know, Marvel has always been and always will be a reflection of the world right outside our window. That world may change and evolve, but the one thing that will never change is the way we tell our stories of heroism. Those stories have room for everyone, regardless of their race, gender, religion, or color of their skin. The only things we don't have room for are hatred, intolerance, and bigotry. That man next to you, he's your brother. That woman over there, she's your sister. And that kid walking by, hey, who knows? He may have the proportionate strength of a spider. We're all part of one big family, the human family, and we all come together in the body of Marvel. And you're part of that family. You're part of the Marvel universe that moves ever upward and onward to greater glory. In other words, Excelsior!
So jump on down to the comments section and let us know. What's your favorite Stan Lee creation? Until next time, guys, be kind to each other. I'm Jay Parks.